Hey, good morning. My name is Tim JK, and I'm today is going to talk about grants. So this simple class today is Grant Writing 101. It's more of an overview than versus going through each grant to do that. I would kind of split these out in a different series of classes to keep it from making it overwhelming. So I'm trying to keep this within 20 minutes in segments. Um, Overall, no more than 30 minutes. So let's jump into it. My name is Tim JK. I'm executive director here at Apple Community Development Corporation. Also, we have a couple of division, which is Apple Capital Group, our financing division, Brazil Logistics, which is our trucking division, and basically the core business show, which is our podcast portion as well. So we'll kind of jump into it. An introduction to Grand Writing 101. A little bit about me. Here's some general information about me. I'm the founder, chair, president, and executive director for Apple Community Development. I reside here in Grand Prairie, Texas, which is part of the Metroplex. I have about 42, 43 years as of this month of nonprofit experience from 1980 to the present. I've worked in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston, worked in the Diocese of Wichita, worked in the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C., and likewise the Diocese of Fort Worth in different capacities, director positions, and this goes on. Here's kind of a list of what I've done, and also in the for-profit world as well. Um, Owning a bookstore, working in government contracting, so kind of run the gamut. And let me kind of speak on this. Although that sometimes people think of grants for nonprofit organizations. Also, there are grants for-profit businesses and individuals. I'm not going to go in great detail of that today, but kind of give you an overview of grants themselves and grant writing. And someone told me years ago, it's really persuasive. I can't speak today. Persuasive writing, and pretty much that you had college composition, the second semester college composition, and persuading your professor on your thesis. Writing is the same thing. You're trying to pull the heartstrings and get your point across on your argument on why you should have the grant and how you're going to use it. So today, three types I'm going to talk about on the agenda. The types of grant applications and the formats, also three major funding sources and how to research and find the funding opportunities, and basic concepts of the successful proposal. Um, Really, the forms are going to, some grant providers ask for a letter of inquiry. They want to see, kind of do a test market to really see exactly who's going to apply for these grants. They don't want to put a RFP out or a inquiry out in a sense, and then nobody applies for it, or they only have a few people apply for it. Hey, I'm thinking 100 people are going to apply for it. I'm going to read. So either they're going to have to revise it, or some of them would do a letter of interest 30 days or 45 days beforehand. Let me know if you guys can be interested in the this proposal, so I can kind of gauge to see, hey, do we have 10 people submitting things and we might get five more? That give us a nice pool of candidates. And it depends on what the amount is as well. The higher the amount is, more promotion they're going to do, is going to be more competition. Also, pre-development fill form. Some will just ask you to fill out a form. There are some grants, really, they don't really care, under $5,000 or $10,000, fill out a form. Or you, and that would be your grant proposal. Some want a narrative, a paper in a sense. The letter of inquiry, it sometimes going to be one page, but sometimes it can go as many as 3 pages. On your organization letterhead, it's the executive summary of your business. I mean, who are you? Why do you need the funds? What the amounts that is needed? How are you going to use the funds? And how are you going to provide feedback to the agency? Meaning, at the very end of the grant, um, what what are you going to provide us to show that how you use the funds and what what effects the funds had in your organization. They want to see an evaluation piece. If you're going to be in a homeless shelter, they want to see how many people you served, how many people you got off their feet. That's really simple as that. They just want to see, has it um, what you asked for, has it done some good, and how you're evaluating, keeping track of that information. Someone know, say after they found housing, how are they doing 6 months later or 3 months later? Are they on their feet? So you provide them some stats. Form applications. There's a pre-development form that's created by the funding agencies. They're really simple. Again, there's some grants at 250. There might be 5 lines you need to fill out: who you are, what you're trying to do, and what you're asking for. But each entity kind of put the information the way they want it. They vary. Some of them are very simple, some of them a little bit more detailed. Just be prepared both ways. Some of them actually you fill out on a portal, Grant Match or whatever. So kind of keep in mind they have that as well. A narrative can be anywhere from 10 to 25 pages in length. I will recommend double spacing to uh, or yeah, almost double spacing, so it can be read a little easier than versus a long document that is really dense because they're doing a lot of reading. So is you make it easy for them. Also, it'll stretch out your paper if you double space it or single space it. Double space it will give you more uh, able to read it, so your eyes won't get tired, and also it stretches the paper as well. Some of them do put some length, say, hey, shouldn't go with more than 25 pages. But really look at it, it's really 25 pages, really just maybe 10 pages, and can be less than that. I would say, keep the regular Times Roman. Courier kind of stretches it out, but make it very easy to read. Uh, do not go pretty much under 12. Some will say that they want 10, some will say that they want 12. And the biggest thing about it, you want to make sure you follow the directions and read them thoroughly and make sure you check off before you submit. Read it, because you can be disqualified for not reading it correctly. They ask for 12 and you get them 10, or they ask for 10, you get them 12. The person who actually processes the grants first will throw it out over technicality because you didn't follow directions. So you want to make sure that you have very concise, developed plan, business plan about the organization. You want to provide them a budget for the year, and if you have 990s, which are tax returns that you're required to follow every single year, you also kind of want to make sure you have those available. You'll want to give them your statement of activities and also of condition, financial condition as well, which is your income statement, our profit and loss statement, and your balance sheet, if that makes sense in for the for-profit world. Um, there are grants going to be there locally. They can be from the county. They can be from state. They can be federal government. So kind of geared towards those narrative on the audience. The federal government and the state is going to be a little bit more fair than versus local and county, which is tend to be a little more political in who they like and who actually have confidence that they're going to get the job done. So it's a trust factor. When it comes to the federal government, they get so many, they score it like all others, but it's more objective on that sense. The rules of engagement is in researching, determining the grant resource, determine the type of funding requests, read the guidelines, determining the closing date, and determine whether the business activity qualify. So make sure that if you're a youth organization, you're not doing it for business development. or you're a music organization and you're not going for homeless. So make sure that you're fitting in the guidelines that they ask you or the things they're looking for. Or, if you're a youth ministry, and this grant is for uh, pet rescue, don't apply for it. Okay. So just kind of keep in what your lane is. There are also corporate grants as well. Some will give to fund women and minority businesses. Some will now ask and see if you're over a certain size, do you have a diversity policy in place? You want to have that drafted ahead of time. It can be a simple one-page document, but there's plenty of things online you can kind of pull from to get that information. Here, there's some hyperlinks. I will include this in this slide, also in the document PDF at the end of this video, so you can kind of click on those funding guidelines. But here's something from Texas Women's Foundation, but they have banks have their foundations, BBA have their foundations, Bank of America have a foundation. A lot of them has foundations, so it's not really an issue for corporate. Just look and see what's out there. Grantgopher.com is a good, simple place to go that they have grants from $100 to as much as $100,000. So they kind of a micro ticket. Again, it's Grant Gopher, GRATGROPHER.com. And they have a mixture of companies and foundation grants. Community, this is kind of geared towards Texas anyway. There are plenty of community foundations you can apply to. There are some hyperlinks there. You can go look and do your research on the organization first to make sure that is a good fit. Because in the narrative, you want to what their mission and vision is, and it goes for this grant. You want to make sure you align that and address that in your uh, introduction of your proposal. And in that, also in your closing, you want to say that what they believe in and what their goal, I mean, what their vision and mission is, why you want the grant. You want to begin with it and end with that. So you make sure you address it so they can say, hey, they did read our site and they did read the proposal. American Recovery Grant. There are some things from the ARPA monies that's out there. Most of those funds had to be spent by a certain time, so there's still funds still available through certain organizations from Chamber of Commerce. They have it all over. But this one you can probably have to network harder because they probably put a lot of that information out to the public a year ago. They don't continue to do that. They just put it out there, and now it's up to you to find that information from government agencies or Chamber of Commerce if those funds are still available through them. As a business, sometime as a credibility, you need to be listed in SAM.gov. That is the System of Award Management. So you get a federal grant, you had to be listed in SAMS. Some state agencies ask you to be listed in SAMS as well. So it's really simple. As long as you have an employer identification number, you want to go register at SAM.gov, put your information in there because it has to do a verification process because they can't give you a grant for the federal government unless you're in SAM. And this is system is really simple. It goes through their system, um, and it puts you in a position for them to verify your information under the Patriot Act, verify that this is a valid tax ID number, verify who you are, quick soft check, and so they know where those monies are going to. And also it sends the information to all the government computers at the agency so you can do business with them for profit or um, not only for profit but for nonprofit as well. Duns number, you also need to get a Duns number, but the System Awards now have as of a year and a half ago, has their own number. So during SAMs, you're going to be applying for your own unique identification number. with the federal government. Um, and the reason for this, because Duns was the 300-pound gorilla back in the old days. You couldn't do anything without Duns, then the Bradstreet number. But a lot of people complained they paid for the Duns number, and for government contractors, it's supposed to be free. So the way they addressed it, decades later, I'm gonna say decades later, is come up with their own number. And right now, it's a lot quicker, but it does take a couple of days. You're supposed to get a DUNS number for free. You still can get that, but right now in this new system for federal, you have to get your own number from the federal government that identifies you. That number also kind of keeps tabs on lawsuits or tax liens that the agency is aware of and obligated to collect if you default on something. So that's the reason why they have those numbers, that they will get notifications if you have a lawsuit or a tax lien from a government entity. That, I mean, it's the federal government, it could be state or some other jurisdiction, or a lawsuit. So because it will threaten your award. I mean, some people had judgments in certain states, and what happened is, once that's awarded to their system, it takes that money because they're obligated to honor that judgment. So don't put yourself in that position. So make sure that at all costs you avoid those litigations or settle it out of court, pretty much. Finding federal agencies. And all the agencies pretty much does some type of funding. Department of Education, Health and Services, and HUD. Everything you can see here, those agencies have some type of grants. For them, you go to grant.gov. Again, it will say you must be listed in SAMS. Here's some other agencies here. USA Gov, I mean USA Aid.gov, AmeriCorps, Department of Agriculture. Again, you got to be in, see here, grants.gov to see that and to apply for it. Other federal agencies, National Endowment of Art, Substance Abuse, and the EPA. Here's some more. Department of Labor, Department of Justice, Transportation have grants as well. And also Native nations have that are tribal, meaning that's federally recognized tribes, they have grants as well. State grants, I'm just going to go for Texas right now. Each state has their own. You can go to, for state grants, you can go at this site here for e-grants for Texas, the TA agency here in Texas for grants, National Council for Texas, Council of Governments. So here we have North Center, there's South Center, uh, Houston have their own, Austin have their own, San Antonio have their own, South Texas have their own, which would be the uh, South Laurel, Texas, no, Corpus Christi, Harlingen, and so forth. East Texas will have another branch. West Texas will, like El Paso, Midland, Lubbock, Odessa, they will have their own as well in their own cities. There are also some faith organizations, One Star here in Texas, Urban Awareness, and Christian Funding. One Star faith based, I mean, they do things across Texas borders, but you can take a look at they say as well, because they do things nationwide. City and government federal grants are available. Community development block grants. Those seems to be a little bit more political and harder. You got to have a clear strategy. You got to build relationships with a council person and the city to make them comfortable in you, your leadership, and your organization to get those grants. It's very competitive. They usually have an idea who they want to deal with, but they want to see if there's anybody else that compares to them. Also, cities have their own. Just check their strategic plans. Also, you can look at counties' consolidated plans. So again, these things are publicly available on site. So, for example, if you're in the city of Dallas, they have theirs. In the city of Memphis, they have theirs, and the community development block grants. So each one has it. So just type it in for that city or call the city development office or grant office, and they can give that to you. St. Louis, New Orleans, they all have it. Grant Gopher is what I talked about before. You have for profit and profit. So you can go there for that website. PND is available, education grants, Grant Forward, Grant Alerts. Those, click on those links, that information is available as well. Also, some other area of funding directories you can go through is Grant Vine, FundNet, Grant Station, Grant Watch, and Urban Awareness. Have those that information available as well. Sometimes Grant Watch and the Urban Awareness give you smaller ones. Some of the grant stations will give you huge ones. They will get it, but somehow they get toward larger grants. Grant Watch and Urban Awareness is these simple, small grants of 25,000, 50,000. So what's you gonna actually need in your proposal? You need a need statement. You need to have your goals and objectives. Need to have your plans of operation, your key personnel. You need to have a website. You need to have social media presence. I'm going to add on to that. Your commitment and your capacity, your evaluation plan. How do you evaluate your programs for success, and your project slash operation budget? Those are going to be key essential things that you need. I didn't put on this slide, but social media is important. You need to have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram account. To show that you have a social presence. Make sure you take pictures of meetings, take pictures of workshops, gatherings, and so forth, so they can size you up in the sense that you see that you're doing something. The pictures are not going to do you any good on your phone. Make sure you post that information publicly so they can feel comfortable with you that you are a successful organization as well. A website is essential. You must have the website with most of this information available anyway. So other than that, okay, I got 22 minutes. Here's my contact information. You can give me a call. There's my telephone number, there's my email and extension. So I know this is a recorded call, session, so you can't ask questions, but you can ask on this page here on YouTube. Pose your question there, and I usually check it throughout the day, and I can answer your questions. A lot of people ask me, do we do grant writing? Um, yes and no. Since we have a lot of things that we do, yes, we do some type of grant writing. Um, but again, there's a qualification process. We want to make sure that, like I just mentioned, you have a website, you have a telephone number, you have a physical present office somewhere, you have a social media that gives a blueprint on what you are. You have financials. You're a little sustainable. You don't have to have a huge budget, but you may can have a $50,000 budget, and something for us to work with. Um, it is hard to start from zero to get a larger grant than from just doing something that, hey, we do have a little of something going for us to make it a little easier. And that makes you successful in getting a grant, versus being mad at us that it wasn't successful because some compliance things that they like to see that you have. So again, thank you for tuning in. My name is Tim JK, and um, thank you for tuning in to my channel here at YouTube. And again, just post your questions on YouTube and my page, Tim JK, and I will respond to it. Take care and God bless.